Well, thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and Tech Advice Live video interview. I'm here with Ram Chakravarti, the Chief Technology Officer at BMC, who I interviewed previously when I was at a different publication. Ram, it's great to meet you in person as we're here at the BMC Connect23 in Melbourne. Welcome.
I'll echo your sentiments, Alex. Thank you for having me, and it's wonderful to meet in person. Quite enjoyed our last conversation. Hopefully this one's even better.
I think so. Now, thank you for taking the time. And look, as I mentioned, we last spoke in November 2022, and I'll include a link to that previous article and video interview in this in the article that accompanies this video. But for those who need a refresher, can you please recap what a modern autonomous digital enterprise is and recap the BMC story in 2023?
Sure. So let me preface it with a little bit of hypothesis. We believe that every company across industries is in a tech transformation journey, the destination to which we define as the autonomous digital enterprise. So the characteristics of the autonomous digital enterprise enable it to be agile from a business standpoint, making the requisite pivots, be absolutely customer-centric, front and center, and also have decisions made through what we call actionable insights. So why are these important? If you look back at 20 years or a couple of decades back, top companies in different sectors were characterized by being good at one of three things: phenomenal innovation, phenomenal growth, phenomenal operational excellence, and you go on and on and on. But in today's world, it's not an either or. You've got to be good at all of these three. And those are the traits of an autonomous digital enterprise. And beyond those characteristics of success, there's a set of operating model characteristics that fundamentally talk about how the organization and its operating model need to evolve in order to meet the triple mandate that I just talked about, as well as a set of what we call technology enablers that put tech front and center in terms of supporting the overarching digital business strategy. That's the way we look at it.
So the big topic of 2023 is artificial intelligence, which is no surprise given its potential to be an even bigger transformational change than the internet. So how can companies use AI as a competitive advantage, conquer the complexity of data and AI, which was a big part of your talk this morning, and harness its power?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of buzz, much of it deservedly so. What we have today, the AI methods that everybody talks about, for the most part, were defined and designed back in the 70s. The algorithms, the machine learning algorithms, the deep learning algorithms, many of them.
People were talking about AI in the 50s. And science fiction writers had dreams which are all only coming true now.
Absolutely. And in the last 10 years, I would say 7-8 years, the confluence of exponentially vast, greater amounts of data, compute and storage and memory become super cheap, as well as the computational power itself increasing exponentially with new forms of compute, all came together that made many of these theoretical constructs practically applicable. So with that being the case, we saw a flurry of early forays into, okay, I want to use AI for this, I want to use AI for that. But as is often the case with many new technologies, the enthusiasm often comes at the price of a pragmatic approach. So the best way to describe this is, the answer is 42 without knowing what you're solving for, right?
That's right.
And now it's really, that's kind of gone away after the initial flurry and the enthusiasm. People are a little more pragmatic, and it's about how can I actually ensure deployment and adoption of AI in my enterprise as a basic construct, and then what are those killer use cases that I need to solve for which AI is the right technology capability that will put me ahead of my competitors. So competitive differentiation, what are you solving for? Are you solving for revenue uptake? Are you solving for operational efficiency improvement? Are you solving for some other really niche piece of information that puts you at an advantage competitively over the others in your industry? All of these are the problems that you're solving for with AI. My point here is that we are at a stage where it's not just about cool use cases, but it's about operationalizing innovation with AI and getting the value realization so that it becomes mainstream in organizations for the most applicable set of use cases that make a difference in how it conducts itself in the overall ecosystem.
As you were talking, I was thinking of Gartner's recent hype cycle where they said that AI was at the peak of inflated expectations. And of course, as we all know, after that comes the trough of disillusionment before we hit the plateau of productivity. And I'm thinking that AI might be the first thing that can really compress that trough of disillusionment and get to the plateau of productivity much faster. And that really, given the fact that we had all these AI expectations in the past, we may have already in the past sort of hit the peak, even though they're talking about it now, because really they're talking about generative AI hitting the peak. So, what are your thoughts on, because what you're talking about is measurable change, measurable improvements that companies can really use to, win today at a time when we most need it, because as Ayan and yourself spoke about, the inflation, the supply chain issues, the problems the world has had in the past few years. So, AI might help us to make AI much better, much faster.
Yeah, I think we have to question those paradigms in terms of, is something that's in a peak of the hype cycle and then going into the trough of disillusionment and all of that. Are those paradigms even valid, or do they get condensed as you observe, right? Yeah. Point is this. I think as long as any new technology capability continues to deliver value, I think it's a useful toolkit in the arsenal. Case in point, BMC still has a mainframe portfolio and delivers mainframe solutions. Nearly 30 years back or 27 years back when I started my career, people told me, don't even go to the mainframe. It's going to die. And here we are. It's going to outlive my career. It's going to outlive your career. Who knows, maybe Maddie's career also. Right? So my point is, today the outlook is a little different. It's not about technology for the sake of technology. The millennial managers who are becoming increasingly more influential as decision makers in organizations don't carry a stigma of a particular technology versus the other. It's about what is the right horse for the right course. I think we've barely scratched the surface on AI. We're still in the era of the artificial narrow intelligence. And with generative AI, the optimists say we're starting to get to the AGI or the artificial general intelligence era. But I think we've got some ways to go. The range of use cases, the applicability, they're mind-boggling. And here we are talking about IT use cases. If you go into digital banking or if you go into any other industry sector, the number of business use cases that can change the dynamic across industries is absolutely staggering. So I think we're just getting started, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that by the time we get to artificial general intelligence, there'll be a hype cycle for that too.
Yes.
Right? And also, just for those wondering, Madeline is a BMC communications professional off camera, but in case people are wondering, that's the explanation. Now, Eamon's presentation spoke about the autonomous digital enterprise, and you also explained the connected digital ops, which covers ServiceOps, DevOps, AIOps, DataOps, and AutonomousOps. There's a lot of ops, none of which I think are optional.
No.
So can you please give us an overview of how a modern autonomous digital enterprise is empowered by connected digital ops,
Sure.
and how BMC is addressing the AI needs of its clients?
Yeah. Two-part question. So let me tackle the first one about connected digital ops and how it plays into the overall notion of the autonomous digital enterprise.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not just about innovation, it's about operationalizing innovation. And that's where the notion of ops comes in. And in organizations, there used to be different silos of ops, DevOps, SecOps, and a whole bunch of other things. Now, the point here is that in order to maximize your objectives as a digital business or as part of your digital business strategy, you need all these constituent parts to be working in tandem with one another. So in BMC, what we're basically saying is the autonomous digital enterprise is still the destination of the tech transformation journey at organizations. There is one important constituent part, which is successfully operationalizing all the tech components that get you to that journey. And that is what we define as connected digital ops. And the point here is that you want, specifically for BMC, and now I'll tie it to the second part of the question, our goal, and this is something we've been doing furiously for the last few years, is exploit AI on the data sets of our customers very responsibly only in our domains of expertise. These are orchestration, observability, service management, DevOps, cloud innovations, and most importantly, continuing to ensure the resilience of their tech landscape. And that is the value that we deliver with our solutions, and that value is the notion of connected digital ops.
Now, one of the things that you explained this morning was how BMC has harnessed generative AI. Of course, as we mentioned, AI is the big topic at the moment. And I'll be speaking to BMC's Senior VP and GM of Digital Service and Operations Management, Margaret Lee, a little bit later on. But for those who are watching now, can you please recap how BMC is using generative AI to really supercharge things for your customers?
Yeah, sure. So, for what it's worth, we had generative AI as part of a solution before it became a cool thing, right? So nearly 1.5 years back, we had a BERT-based incident correlation capability as part of our service management offering. And what that gave us was a shot in the arm in terms of having already done the diligence research and having deployed a capability with an early version of generative AI. We've built on the strengths of that to fast track the deployment and GA release of new use cases in our domains of expertise. Our product is Helix GPT. Margaret is going to be talking about that at length. But our approach is basically to use domain-specific and train domain-specific large language models on customers' enterprise knowledge repositories, not world knowledge repositories that ChatGPT uses.
Yeah.
So that by itself constrains the data set, and then it's a case of applying our domains of expertise, service management, operations management, automation, and what have you, on those data sets to train and fine-tune the data, along with a couple of other engineering components to provide highly accurate responses to queries in the solutions that we deploy. That's the approach.
So what's an example of a question that I would ask Helix GPT about the environment, and that would presumably be in plain English?
Okay, so let's talk about business risk and incident prediction, right? So you analyze, you train the data set, and you can basically let me give you another example.
Sure.
Let's clip the first one.
Yep.
Okay, let's. This is an interesting one. Part of our mandate is to support DevOps personas, right? DevOps is in various stages of adoption in our organizations. So the DevOps personas, the SRE, the site and service reliability engineers is one, and then there's others along the continuum. Change and code changes in organizations are being deployed at a faster pace. And oftentimes, speed and quality go head to head with each other. What you want is the judicious balance of speed and quality, and that is basically the notion of reliability. So what if, using generative AI, we are able to predict what the risk is of an upcoming change? And that insight can basically help your SRE personas to release with confidence the next change. That's a pretty good use case, right? So that's one example of many that we're working on.
But I mean, the other side of the coin for those who are familiar with ChatGPT is that you can talk to Helix GPT as though it was a person, just in plain English.
It's a fantastic option for interactive conversational knowledge exchange, and in fact, that's one of the other use cases we're working on, which is the integrate. So we have a virtual assistant that we call the Helix Virtual Assistant.
Yeah.
And think of it, and it's been trained on a knowledge base, and it's been reasonably good in terms of performance. But now you're talking about enabling a smarter virtual assistant. With the integration of our Helix Virtual Assistant, we call it HVA, and Helix GPT, we can basically ensure that the conversational knowledge that virtual assistant can use to engage, the knowledge base that the virtual assistant can use to engage in interactive conversations with the person querying about something, is a steroid shot over its prior capability.
And of course, because it is domain-specific knowledge, specific to that company and not the world database that we spoke about before, the chance of hallucinations, as people talk about, where AI is giving you wrong answers with great confidence, is virtually non-existent, or it's
absolutely. It's domain-specific data sets, fine-tuning the models with reinforcement learning with human feedback, as well as finally really the embeddings and the pre-queries with the prompt engineering orchestration layer, and grounding it in the right context so that if there is a query, you're constraining the response to the query with specific small subsets of the data that the model's been trained on. All of that minimize the likelihood of hallucinations.
Yeah, and obviously, you guys are working on this. The people in companies who are managing it are aware of these things and monitoring it. And as all of the ChatGPT companies and clones are saying, look, mistakes can happen, but we're in the early stages. I mean, give it a few years and none of this will be happening anymore. So. My next question is, when is the first time that you remember encountering AI, and obviously not generative AI because that's only sort of been recent, and realizing that it held a transformational potential that we're not only now seeing, but that BMC has been working on furiously, as you say, for the past few years to bring to reality?
Okay, the first time I encountered, I did not really see the transformational potential. It was in engineering and grad school where machine learning was one of the coveted courses.
Yeah.
We looked at it as, okay, application of mathematical techniques that looked really cool, but did not really see the practical application yet at that point in time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you grow, learn from experience, and things change in the tech world, and now it's much more conducive. So when I really started seeing the potential was early stages of digital transformation, when people started talking about, hey, it's not just about big data, it's AI and big data, right? And that was back in, I'd say, early to mid 2010s. That was when maybe this has transformational potential, and that just kept feeding and it just kept growing, and it is what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how we can see, or we can recognize that this change is coming, but it can still be a decade away before it actually hits the ground and you're off and running with it. So what are some of the other key things that, in brief, we should know about BMC that we haven't already discussed?
Sure. For us, it's about customers first. So everything that we do, as mentioned during my presentation, is in addressing customers' needs of today as well as their emerging needs. By having a perspective where we are doubling down on AI on specific data sets in our domains of expertise, we are not solving world hunger. We don't aspire to do that. We are not capable of doing that, but we are pretty good at what we do. So taking that knowledge and decades of internal expertise and then using it to train the AI models on the data sets that are within that scope of expertise is where we can add tremendous value to organizations. And that's our calling in life.
So how do you see AI and BMC software evolving over the next couple of years?
AI is already embedded in pretty much everything that we do. And even our mainframe portfolio, we have an AIOps solution which features AI heavily. So regardless of what we offer, whether it's in the distributed system space or the mainframe space, AI is synonymous with any kind of innovation that happens with BMC. I almost don't even want to talk about it as AI. We take it for granted, right? It's a foundational cornerstone of everything that we do in our product portfolio.
I mean, the kids that are being born today are growing up in a world where AI has always been there. Mm-hmm. They won't know a world without it. For us, it was like experiencing smartphones for the first time. But for them, they won't know it, a world that doesn't have it. So what is your final message to the people that are watching this video and reading the article that this video is embedded into?
Yeah, I'd say if you're a person that is looking to employ AI in your organization, regardless of what you do, persist, commit to it. Start small with one or two use cases where you can show quick wins. Don't go with technology for the sake of technology. Apply the right AI method if it will give you a significant improvement in performance or if it does things that were previously not possible. Show the value, persist, and then scale, iterate, go and start deploying more use cases. I guess the takeaway is pragmatic approach, be persistent, and stay the course.
Ram Chakravarti, Chief Technology Officer at BMC. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to enjoying the rest of the conference, and I do hope we can speak again in the future.
Absolutely, Alex. Always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to part 3.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See ya.